E3 2018 brought so many exciting games to the table for Nintendo, and to their credit, the Switch has been marketed well ever since its initial release in 2017. However, what set E3 2018 apart for Nintendo was the game that completely came out of left field and opened the presentation. Some of you already know what game I might be talking about, but ever since I saw the trailer, I've wanted to get my hands on this game for the longest time. I got my wish a few months back as a Nintendo Direct announced a limited time demo for the game that I think is an underrated gem of what will actually be an underrated gem of the Switch's library. And for that reason, it was overlooked by many. With the composers of the Ace Combat franchise and the designers of the mechs from Armored Core, we got a Switch-exclusive game set for a 2019 release that really gives the vibe of a Gundam game plus an Armored Core successor, which is absolutely incredible because for those of you who don't know, I actually dig the mech games. I think they're very fun and very interesting to play. But I'm sure you guys already know what I'm talking about. That's right, I am talking about Daemon X Machina, a game that I personally believe has a lot of great potential, but was definitely overshadowed by some of the other games in Nintendo's E3 2018 presentation. In any case, though, in today's video, we're actually going to be taking a little closer look at the demo of Daemon X Machina, and I'm going to be explaining to you guys a little bit of the game analysis and why I think the game has great mechanics, and you should give it a chance to play before it's fully released. Before we go any further, of course, I want to apologize for how long this video came out to make. I didn't really have time to make a very big discussion video, super in-depth discussion video like this, as I was literally dead set in the center of my college semester and didn't really have time to make a super in-depth video. So I asked you guys just for this video, please respect my opinions as this game is an early E3 build demo that we got to play as a whole. And of course, if you guys enjoyed the video, leave a like if you enjoyed the little discussion / analysis video of the demo from Daemon X Machina. But without further ado, let's get started. Like most demos given to players for early access content, it's very limited to what's given to you. It's usually a level or two, I should say. But in the case of Daemon X Machina, we actually got 4 levels to play with a lot of the game's main features intact, which is already amazing, and I was very pleased with how the demo was presented to me as a new player who's had experience with mech games in the past, but not a mech game like this, even though technically it is an Armored Core successor, and I've played Armored Core. But that's a story for another time. As you boot up the demo, of course, you're greeted with an amazing piece of music, which we will absolutely discuss later, and are given the option to start a new game. Upon starting this new game, you're actually thrust into a small cutscene of your character, which you don't immediately see. That's because Daemon X Machina's defining game features actually come from being fully customizable, from your character to your mech, which is very cool, which allows you to not only put yourself into the story, but, you know, it allows you to develop your own character in, you know, the continuity of the Daemon X universe. And I love games that absolutely do this. It gives a very big Monster Hunter franchise vibe, which is one of my favorite game series of all time. So I really appreciate when games allow you to create your own character and thrust yourself into this story, with, you know, you being able to create your own story. But that's just besides the point. Upon creating your character, the game does a great job of directing you towards your mech, which you learn very quickly are called arsenals, and you are called an outer. There's a quick and brief overview of your arsenal, which again we'll get into later, and all of a sudden you're thrown into a cutscene leading to the game's tutorial level. Now, while this part of the tutorial is quick leading up to the first mission, I have to respect the developers for allowing players to actually get right into the game, as players want to play the game ASAP, and giving some gradual tutorials over the course of the first few missions as to not overwhelm the player is a good call. Even so, if you forget something you just learned, the game's pause menu has a bunch of notes and manuals which allow you to review things you've learned or some secret tips that the game doesn't tell you about outright, which is a very good call from the developers, because there's a lot of hidden mechanics for Daemon X Machina that you will want to learn if you decide to pick up this game for yourselves. Anyways, when you load into the first level, the game is immediately going to pause. You're going to be greeted with a small screen telling you movement options along with the controls being displayed at the bottom of the screen. This gives the player time to adjust to the new control scheme and feel comfortable moving before the game then directs you to cross the second barrier that is essentially in your way. This barrier is the barrier that, switches you to your combat phase, essentially. Now, not all missions obviously have this. This is only specifically for the tutorial, but it's to slowly ease in players as to not overwhelm them, which again, as I said previously, is a fantastic call. The moment you do cross this barrier, your displays on the bottom of the screen are switched to weapon controls, of course. Now, during this whole time, there's an AI voice talking to you, and this AI voice tells you, once again, of course, how to use the weapons at your disposal, and it emphasizes that you need to stay mobile while shooting. And this is actually a fantastic tip for players who've never played a mech game like this before, because as you'll see and we'll discuss later, battles can get very fast, and not moving results in a ton of damage quickly, so staying mobile is fantastic. The good news is the game is quick to show you how much damage you do take if you do take a hit, because the mech the game provides, or the arsenal the game provides immediately, is actually the worst one in the game as the build, and you only have about 8,000 hit points. Of course, if you do take a hit on the top of the screen, you do see your VP, STM, and those are simply VP, those are your vitality points. Your STM is stamina, and that's obviously for your mobility and boosting. Part durability, which is right under the stamina. It's kind of like just under the stamina bar, slightly to the right of it. And that displays part durability for your arsenal's arms, your left and right arm, and we'll get more into that a bit later. Your legs, chest, and head unit. And of course, then there's Femento or Femto, which isn't really explained too well in the demo, but it's used to technically revive fallen allies or something along the lines of that. And for whatever reason, the game also, like the AI voice explains, it has something to do with interrupting frequencies and communication, which is very interesting. But obviously, after all these basic tutorials are given on the way with your movement and weapons, at this point, a small little cutscene plays, and you're given 7 to 8 minutes to take out 15 enemies in the mission. And at this point, you're actually let loose to experiment with movement techniques and battle mechanics, which is a very good idea, and as it allows the players to learn at their own pace, giving them freedom to try out things and explore. Because while the designated mission area does have a barrier around it, the arenas are absolutely massive, allowing players to try new things without being punished too early. What the game doesn't tell you, though, right away, is that you can exit your arsenal in mission at any time by standing still and holding the X button to reboard and exit your arsenal. I have to knock the devs on this one just because the first mission should explain this, like, immediately, because later down the line, it may be important for you to exit your arsenal to maybe reach something your arsenal can't get, or go inside, maybe like a building or something. Of course, as your character, you have a wide variety of movement options as well, in which all the attack buttons and movement options remain the same as your arsenal's controls, which is a very good option, only you can't fly, you can only jump. But you do have different weapons. On top of that, you can actually mechanize your character to change your character's weapons and abilities. Now, the game doesn't explain this outright yet, and we're going to talk about that a little bit later. However, despite the game not telling you everything from the start, as I stated previously, it allows the player to learn and allows the player to discover new battle mechanics. One mechanic that's pretty easy to pull off, actually, after a little bit of practice, is a mechanic I like to call the spinner shot, in which your arsenal dodges left or right while spinning in circle, firing bullets all around them without consuming ammo for your weapons. This move can be performed on the ground or in the air by flying or moving left and right, and quickly you whip the stick in the opposite direction of which you're moving. It does not move forward and backwards. Those are a little bit different movement options. Of course, you got to hit the fire button while doing this. Overall, though, I would say the tutorial does an excellent job of easing players into the gameplay while not overwhelming them, which definitely would keep people intrigued and would allow them to want to play the game further. Of course, another thing that will keep players engaged is having those customizable features that I talked about, and the developers meticulously made sure there were a lot of them to appeal to even more players, and believe me, I believe the demo only scratches the surface of how much there's really going to be in the game. Definitely one of the game's greatest aspects in the demo is just the amount of customization available from the start to finish. It's absolutely incredible with how much the developers were able to pack into this demo, and as I stated earlier, when starting the game, you get to immediately create your character. You can obviously pick either male or female, as this is a futuristic humanoid-based world, so you won't find any alien-esque creatures here. Go play Xenoverse if you want to do that. It's just man versus machine. You're able to change every option in the menu you see at any time by going to the lab in the main hub, and you're able to colorize the character's suit however you want, along with a very well-made color wheel, allowing you to get more specific for colors. Forget the dull and rustic mechs of old and old colors of old. This is the future. If you want to be someone who wears a giant pink suit, you can freaking do it in this game, and that's absolutely amazing. Along with the customization of the character in the menu itself when you go into the customized screen, it's the ability to zoom in and out on the character by pulling forward and backwards on the stick, along with rotating it left and right with the left or right stick. It doesn't matter which. While, of course, what you're seeing is from the demo right here, you can actually expect the amount of customization in the full game to be extremely extensive. The demo is very limited in what the customization is, and I feel like there's going to be a lot more options in the full game. Maybe you'll even unlock different pieces for character customization as you go along. The customization of the character doesn't stop there, though. You see, you're also able to augment your character with robotic parts. Now, this changes your appearance in various ways depending on the augmentation. You'll know it's an augmentation for your character when you get this message denoted on your screen that says this will drastically affect your body. So not only in this game do you get to pilot an arsenal, you're also kind of becoming a mechanized human, which is also kind of like an arsenal, which is really cool. Deciding to augment yourself with these mechanical parts, however, does actually have benefits. You see, augmenting your character will either change the performance of your character and how many actions they can use outside their arsenal, but it also has the effect to affect your arsenal's performance directly, along with certain other perks. The difference between the character perk and the arsenal perks in this customization screen is designated by the names Arsenal or Outer. Outer being your character, as I stated earlier, and Arsenal being, well, your arsenal. I mean, there's nothing more to say about that. The game goes one step further, however, and allows you to return to your purely human, uncybernetic form if you choose at any time. But it does cost some in-game currency, which you gain pretty quickly, which I really enjoy. Personally, I love the option of improving yourself and your arsenal through augmentation, but I know some people out there will definitely prefer to go augment less to make the game a bit more of a challenge, which is completely okay, and you are allowed to do that. Unfortunately, not all augments can be purchased at the same time, as once you purchase one augment, you only unlock the next in the chain either below one space or directly next to the last augmentation. You do not get access to the augmentations above if there are any. So, if you really want to customize your character, you do kind of have to think of strategy when it comes to choosing the certain augments that you want, and it all really depends on how you want to build your character. But like all things in the customization menu, you can also kind of colorize these cybernetic parts, which is really cool. So you can have cybernetic colors and a suit color. It's a really fun implementation, and I really can't wait to get my hands on the full character augmentation setup, because believe me, some of the character augmentations look absolutely insane, and I really want to be able to like deck out my character however I want. I'm sure some of you guys out there do too. But of course, character customization, while very in-depth, is only scratching the surface of the amount of customization in this game. But honestly, what about your arsenal? Does it have the same level of customization as your character? Well, in the next section, we're actually going to talk about that. I mean, obviously it wouldn't be a mech game without a mech, right? Daemon X Machina definitely has a lot of them, and all of them can be designed however you want from the ground up. To do so, it's pretty easy. You'll want to go into your hangar from the main hub console, or right before you start a mission, and from here you end up seeing two options. The first option is your arsenal's equipment. This includes things such as the processors, weapons, and arsenal parts you'll need to create your own mech. The options themselves are broken up into subcategories, armor, and weapons. The second option is pretty self-explanatory on this hangar menu as it's paint, but we'll discuss a little bit about that in a bit. For now, let's just focus on the armor. Immediately when you go into the armor section of equipment, you'll notice there's a lot on the screen, but that's okay because I'm kind of here to break it down for you and kind of give my opinions on how this menu looks. Starting off, you have the overall stats of your arsenal, which are durability, your arsenal's overall health, firepower, which is how much damage your arsenal can dish out, and it also is related to how many weapons your arsenal technically has on them at one time. Your ammunition, which indicates how much ammo your arsenal is taking into whichever mission you're going in. Your mobility, which is pretty obvious, but it should be how fast you move, dodge, fly, etc. And scouting, which isn't used much in the demo, but it has something to do with stealth and detection from what I can understand from reading it. To get more detailed stats of your current arsenal, you can hit the Y button to bring up your arsenal's resistance, knockdown, recovery, lock-on speed, how long you can boost, in which state, flying or ground state, etc. Yes, I agree. It is a lot to look at for some people. And I agree it's very difficult, especially when there's so many numbers on the screen. But for me, I come from a Monster Hunter background, which means I'm used to, well, all this, to put it bluntly, math. Because that's all it comes down to at the end of the day. Sure, it's not for everyone, but these stats are definitely important for creating a balanced arsenal. Speaking of which, you may notice at the top of the screen, there is this thing called total memory usage. This is essentially your baseline of stat boosts. If you're on or under the baseline, your stats are balanced and possibly even improved from that memory usage compared to being over that memory usage baseline, which will decrease your overall performance. Now, you may be thinking to yourself, how do I improve on my memory usage? Well, that's what the left side of the screen is for, your arsenal parts. You see, each part of your arsenal is linked to a specific stat that changes how your arsenal performs, essentially, along with some other things like their resistances. Your head module is mainly used to change your arsenal's sight design, lock-on distance, and lock-on time. Your arsenal's body unit changes the overall total of memory you can have, along with some boost speed. The processor unit has a lot of varying effects, and it depends on the one you have. Your arm units, which, by the way, do not have to be the exact same, which is very cool, and I appreciate being able to have an asymmetrical mech. Essentially, these are meant for your auto-fire support, which is how fast the weapon consumes its ammo, and allows for better damage output faster, and essentially how accurate your weapons are. And the leg units should be pretty self-explanatory, but these units mainly affect your mobility and landing boost speed. In order to unlock arsenal parts for this, as you can see on my screen, I have a couple of them, you actually need to beat missions in the game and salvage arsenal parts from other mechs in the game. Now, while you do get to salvage a lot of parts from the game, at any time, if you are essentially searching a downed arsenal, you're only allowed to pick one part per downed arsenal, which can be a little bit tedious, but I understand why they did it, as the game developers do not want you getting super powerful too quickly. But the good news is you can go back and replay some missions to get maybe a design look you want or something like that, which I really appreciate in the long run of things. In order to get these parts, though, there's only two types of enemies you can really destroy, as of right now that I know in the demo. There's enemy AI arsenals, which are controlled by AI in the computer, but there's also NPC arsenals, which can be your allies, and some of them you do have to fight, which is very cool. You can salvage their parts that way, the same with weapons. New parts that you might pick up on the battlefield will be denoted with a glowing yellow marker next to it, along with the yellow name. And in the hangar, it's denoted that you have new equipment with a small blue marker. Speaking of which, your weapon systems are pretty self-explanatory, I should say. At any one time, your arsenal is allowed to have possibly 6 weapons equipped at once. These can all be interchanged at free will in the hangar, and weapons in your hands and on the pylons can be endlessly swapped out mid-mission. Your shoulder weapon, however, cannot be swapped, and sometimes auxiliary weapons are not actually weapons. Like mine, for example, allows me to boost toward the ground from a hover. Just as a small example, that's my auxiliary. There are a lot of weapons in the game, and the demo really only gave us a few to try out. A sword, a shield, a couple guns, some really rapid-firing short-range weapons. But what's really important to remember about getting all these guns and things in the game is that everything you equip on your arsenal consumes some of this total memory. So you do have to kind of choose your parts strategically and wisely so you can maybe get that stat boost for your arsenal. You can also kind of really adjust your playstyle this way by using certain arsenal parts and weapon combos as well. For example, if you want to be a heavy-hitting tank, focus on explosive weapon variations, shields, lasers, anything with explosions, and just a lot of durable arsenal parts. On the other hand, if you want to be an extremely fast and mobile mech, just use lighter weapons, armor pieces, and maybe even swords. Ultimately, the way you design your arsenal in this game is all up to you, and how you want to play it, which is a great great touch from the developers without them needing to add a class system for the players. The one complaint I have to mention, though, about some of these weapons is the damned sword. Oh my god, the sword sucks. Not in terms of damage or in range, but it's how often you can use it. Essentially, the sword is literally one slash before you have a slight cooldown before you can slash it again. And if you have two swords equipped, you can only use both at the same time. You can't swing sword slash after sword slash. I really hope the main game kind of gets this fixed and you can swing it into a combo of some kind, because that I personally would love to go around with two small machine guns and swords just chopping at my enemies with a really fast mech, because that's my playstyle, and I don't know what your guys' playstyle is, but I'm going to enjoy my playstyle. It's also, the sword itself also kind of has a tendency to overshoot targets, but I feel like that's a way to balance the speed of your sword, so I don't have too much of a problem with overshooting targets. If you ever think the customization menu at any point, though, for your arsenal, weapons, or equipment is too much for you, though, the developers added a handy sort button by hitting X, which allows you to sort weapons and armor however you want, provided you're in the proper sub-menu. Of course, along with sorting, there's also full customization for your arsenal, so I guess at this point it's time to talk about your arsenal's paint. Just like your character, your arsenal can also be painted however you want. You can choose to paint your arsenal all at once with the option full body, or you can individually paint each piece of your arsenal to make it your very own. On top of that, you can find and unlock decals in mission by scanning them with your arsenal. They're usually pretty common graffiti on the wall, and I'm sure there's going to be a ton of them in the game. For the demo, it only allowed us to unlock 2 of them, and 1 of them was given to us for free. But there's definitely going to be a lot more in the main game. But for even more customization, the developers also added the option to patternize your arsenal along with the pattern's color, changing its overall appearance to make it even more of your very own. Hell, you can even name your arsenal, which I absolutely love. As you can see, mine is clearly named Biohazard. I mean, it's bright colors. It's bright colors, kind of like radiation, toxic. It's green. You guys get the point. It doesn't matter. I called it Biohazard. I think it's a cool name. Fight me. I mean, but I think that's the best part. You can literally customize your arsenal literally down to its very name. Even your character, I forgot to mention, can also have their name customized, which is very, very cool. With all the customization options available in the demo, Daemon X is giving the player a lot of power when it comes to the full release of the game. It's some of the best customization I've seen in a game in a long time, and I can't wait for the full release, which I'm super hyped for, and I will be picking up, and we will be playing through it, and we will be doing some multiplayer, which I'm super excited for. But with that, I guess the more important part for the game is, what about the gameplay? I've talked about all this customization, and I've talked about, you know, why I enjoy the tutorial and why the tutorial is well done, but how about the overall gameplay and feel of the game? Is it good? The demo for Daemon X Machina definitely is a mixed bag, I think, when it comes to gameplay. As I stated earlier, the game's first tutorial mission is very good at easing players into the game in the early stages, but does it get better as the demo goes on? Personally, it's kind of hard to say, because I learned the controls and mechanics of this game very quickly, even some hidden ones that I haven't discussed about here, that I want you guys to kind of discover if you guys still have the demo or if you're waiting on the full release. The reason I kind of say this, though, as well, is because the game kind of gave us a pretty boring hub world, which I really hope does get expanded on in the main game, because it seems like you can maybe walk outside your hangar, or there's another shop, or, you know, the weapons are going to be displayed on the walls, I guess, or something like that. But on top of that, it also seems like a lot of the demo missions they gave us are right at the beginning of the game, which I'm kind of disappointed at, because I would love to see a bit more of an intense mission, maybe more midway through the game. But that's okay. I don't have too big of a problem with this, but the biggest problem I have with this is specifically in missions 2 and 3, which are literally in the exact same location, just one's at night and it's a defense mission, and the other's during the day and it's just kind of a kill mission, if you know what I mean. But, I mean, first come, first serve, the environments, they absolutely look gorgeous for that. Although I do feel the environments for this game are very bland, not in terms of the color and the art style, because I absolutely love it. I believe it is gorgeous. It's cleanly cel-shaded with some very well-designed environments. I just feel like it could have more in the environment, if you know what I mean. So, I mean, that's that's personally okay with that. I apologize. My phone just went off when I'm trying to read this 5-page script. Yes, it's 5 pages. I wrote this script for 5 hours. I did just a page an hour. Oh God, you guys have no idea what I went through for this video. But that's besides the point. At this point, we only technically got 2 zones for the demo. But some of the other ones, I'm sure you guys have also seen from the trailers, are absolutely stunning. The color scheme of each area definitely fits really well with the situation and definitely brings the feeling of a hostile AI takeover. Now, on top of the environments, I wish there being more in the environment. I kind of wish the environment was a bit more destructible than it actually is. Now, while I don't expect this to happen, one can dream, and if it doesn't happen, I am not going to be too down about it, but I would love to have some destructible environments. Combat is definitely smooth and crisp, with it becoming extremely fast-paced and intense, especially when you're moving around the arena constantly fighting another mercenary-controlled arsenal. There are a couple frame drops in the combat compared back to when we first saw it way back at E3 2018. But the demo since then, I feel like, has definitely got a better pace and has fixed some of the frame drops. So I feel like they really hope... So I feel like they'll fix out and iron out all the frame rate issues, as the game technically is supposed to run at a steady 30 frames rather than 60, but I understand why they had to do it, as it's running on Unreal Engine 4. The Switch isn't as powerful as some of the other consoles, but if they can get it running at a stable 30 before the game's release, whenever it releases, I will be absolutely happy with that, and it's going to be great. The one thing that really concerns me, though, is the frame rate staying consistent through multiplayer. Now, we didn't get any multiplayer in the demo, but from old gameplay footage I saw, the multiplayer demo was very laggy, and we're talking 18, 17 frames per second. Now, I really would have liked to see if the demo had one multiplayer mission, like maybe the boss mission we got, so we could test the limits of the game's frame rate to see how it would really work with multiplayer. But unfortunately, we didn't get that, so I can only hope that the developers will iron out and test everything as we go through. Aside from that, the amount of control you have over your arsenal is very nice, and it allows players' hands to remain on their controllers comfortably, rather than having to contort them in such strange ways, which is a massive thumbs up from me. I hate having to, like, reach my right hand over to hit this controller because all my other fingers are hitting other buttons. It's a pain in the butt. There's a couple games that do it. Just, oh my god, it's so horrible. And I don't want to talk about it too much. But, other than that, in terms of story, at the moment, we don't really have much. We get hints about it here and there in the demo, but from what I can understand, your character has just joined a mercenary group known as Orbital, which is broken up into other mercenary factions. However, the moon kind of crashed into the Earth, which made something amiss, and certain mercenary groups are now starting to interfere with other mercenary groups, maybe trying to ruin the reputation of other mercenary groups. All the while, the moon crashing into the Earth caused all these AI units known as Immortals to try and bring an end to humankind, so it's definitely man versus machine with a little bit of twistiness in it, and I'm interested to see where the story's gonna go. But the best part, oh my god, the best part about the demo, and if you guys have not heard any of it, the freaking music. From the amazing main theme to the metal madness that was the boss fight mission, the music is absolutely stunning. I've been playing the music quietly from the demo the whole time in the background, so now I kind of get the chance to let you guys really listen to it. The first track that I'm going to be playing for you guys is from the main theme on the title screen, and the second track is from an Arsenal versus Arsenal fight from Mission 3 at the end of the defense mission. I just love the music, and I'm so excited for this game, but I gotta just take this music and just listen to it, and just... I'm going to move on to the next section while you guys listen to the music. It's just damn good. It's good, right? I'm telling you, that music is fantastic. It's absolutely amazing. I hope you guys enjoyed listening to it. But hopefully you guys now all understand a little bit better what this game is and how fun it may or may not be for some of you. Let me know in the comments section below what you think of the little discussion video, because I'm very interested to hear your guys' feedback on what you think of this video overall and if I should do more of them in the future. On top of that, feel free to also let me know if you're going to be grabbing this game yourself, because I'm looking forward to doing the multiplayer with some of you. I know I'm definitely going to be doing the multiplayer with LK for sure. We're actually planning to record a series with that. But I hope you guys all enjoyed the video, because while it might not be as exciting as some of my other videos, I really got to go in depth with Daemon X and share what I've learned about the game with you just from playing a small little demo. I also, again, want to apologize for having this video out so late, but college comes first. Most of the time. Don't quote me. But I can't forget, before I sign off, I cannot forget to remind you guys that we are still on our amazing road to 2,000 subscribers. So let's see if we can reach that by the end of the year. Before I go, though, of course, I have to take this opportunity to thank my donators over there on Patreon, because without your guys' support, this video would not have come out, like, at all. You guys have definitely helped me make this video this month. I absolutely appreciate you guys for that. MickeyPhorGens, MaddiLeigh, Thomas, Color Craze, and Drix, thank you guys for the continued support. It means a lot to me, especially making videos like this. But other than that, this is CAJman777 signing off. Stay safe, everybody, and I hope to see some of you on the battlefields of Daemon X Machina.